All right. It says we're live. Let's do this. Wonderful. Welcome back. Welcome to everyone. Welcome to the folks that. Okay, that works. Okay, I'm producing my own show. Stop that. Awesome. Here we go. We'll edit this out in the podcast. Welcome. Welcome to episode 2 of the Woodridge Creek podcast, live podcast. So feel free to leave a comment and in the box, and we could talk about a topic. And if you're watching this at a later date, feel free to leave a comment down there, and we could chit chat that way. What better way to build a community than to chit chat with each other? Before we get into it, I do have one little piece of housekeeping. Housekeeping, I guess. Super producer Ashley, who's producing the show just above our head, probably not listening. She had a very good point the other day. If you've ever watched any of my videos, and I think I did it a couple times in the last podcast, it's to stop saying, "Oh, nobody watches this." As the channel grows and more people get invested on this, my ramblings, I should be more appreciative. So let me explain. That was almost like a crutch, like a safety device, like, oh, just telling myself, oh, nobody's actually watching this, when in fact there are people watching this, and there are people that are investing their time. So let me say that, first off, I will never say no one watches this anymore. I will not say that. And two, let me reiterate how thankful I am for the people whom are watching, leaving comments, listening to the podcast, which was not my finest work, but they still digested it and took time out of their day to listen to it, which leads me into the next point, which is, according to my analytics, even though last week's show, or the last show, was not the best. Brad, good evening. How are you, buddy? We're gonna get to you later. You don't have to stick around, but we're gonna talk about you later. My analytics say that most people have listened on average to about 8 minutes. So while I have your attention, I'd like to focus in on something that happened, and it's kind of important to me that the word gets out. If by some miracle you do not follow Jacob, guilty of treason, and you follow this channel, Jacob has an excellent arborist channel, up in the trees, cutting chainsaws. He buys the world's cheapest chainsaws and goes and does a tree job with it. It's a good channel. It's blown up. I think he's got 400,000 subscribers or whatever. It's a great story. The story behind that channel is a great story to begin with. He originally worked for a tree company. The tree company was like, "Hey, listen, you're filming on our time. Let me get the channel." And he was like, "No." And they said, "Well, you're fired." And he said, "Well, I quit." He gives him the channel, goes and starts his own channel, and that channel now supersedes the tree service channel. So it's a win. It's a good story. Jacob seems like a very nice guy. They're West Coast guys up in the big tall trees and this and that. And one of the recurring characters, people, they're not characters. We're on YouTube. We're regular people. One of the people that was on there was Inbred Jed. Inbred Jed was on the channel with decent frequency. He played a major part in a video that I've watched a bunch to keep me safe in my yard. It's the 8 ways to fell a tree. It's arguably one of the best. It's one of the best videos on YouTube on how to fell a tree safely and technically, and Jed was no small part of that. And I think that video has, like, I don't know, probably 5 million views. 500,000 of them are probably me watching it, because I not only do I enjoy it, but before I go and make a cut in my own yard, I'll watch the video. Between that and the Terry Hale videos, you're in good shape cutting a tree down. And the Inbred Jed, the guy, it comes through as a good dude, just a good dude. He recurred every once in a while. And now on the other videos that Jacob would post, I would leave they weren't snarky, but like, "Hey, this video needs more Jed. This video needs more Jed." He was like a gentle, good dude. It just exuded through. It was the kind of dude that came through like you go, that's a good dude, and no one had to tell you that that guy was a good dude. So just about a week ago, about 8 days ago, um, Jed was killed by a widowmaker, a hanger, whatever you want to call it. 10 foot long, 10 inches round. He was cutting a tree. It was caught up. He looked up, and the vibration of the saw fell down, hit Jed, and it was lights out for him. And while the topic this week or on this show was going to be what it is now, being comfortable with death, it had nothing to do with Jed. It had to do with chickens and ducks and the things that coming and going on a homestead. But I can't remember a time where a death on YouTube bothered me as much as this did. Now, before I lose you, we're coming up to 6 minutes. There's a GoFundMe down here, down in the description down below. And if you find it in your heart, if you have a little extra to donate, I know it's a lot. It's up to a lot, but that's it. You know, the more after the story came out, you do a little bit of research. Maybe there's a news clipping. It's human nature. It's morbid. You get hit with this awful news and you're like, I got to go find more about this. And it was fascinating. This guy was a fascinating fellow. He was a big time skateboarder back in the 90s. And he didn't like whom he was becoming as a skateboarder. So when one of these skateboarding companies came along with a big contract, not only did he not sign the contract, he just dipped out. He just got out of skateboarding, poof, as fast as he came in, as fast as he was gone, and got into tree work. And anyone who's ever held a saw and dropped a tree or bucked a log knows that there's something there. And to be able to translate that into a living is awesome. I would love to cut trees for a living. I'm not climbing anywhere. It just, we all know that it's an exciting thing, but at the same time, it's a dangerous thing. And he took this on. He was a man of the word. He was a follower, a wife and 2 kids, goes to work one day and then lights out. It's over. And despite what I was going to talk about this week being comfortable with death, I'm not comfortable with this one. Just like skateboarding, as soon as this guy, or as quick as this guy came arguably into my life here on the property, running a saw, he's gone that fast. So if you can, as we come up to 8 minutes and we start losing people, if you can, throw a little money into his GoFundMe for his family. It's I would hope that people would do it for me. I do it for them. You don't have to leave your name. Do it anonymously. But we all know how fun it is to run a saw and make a bunch of noise and throw chips around. But it's inherently dangerous. I don't think I would be as sad for myself if there was an accident in my yard. But there's something about, to me, there's something about when someone dies on the job. They traded their life for a paycheck to provide for their family. It really bugs me. I think that's why the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. You ever listen to the words of that? You know the whole story. It's the Downeaster Alexa. While they're both maritime dirges, but these are guys, their songs they encapsulate guys who would rather be home, and instead of being home, they're dead. And that's why I think they both strike a chord for me. If I get good and tuned up, you'll all be down here wailing along with old Gordon Lightfoot, whatever his name is. And it's not just tree people. It's industrial accidents. There was a teenager. He got pulled into a chipper not too long ago. Tree stuff is inherently dangerous. You know, you're an electrician. You hook up the wrong gigawatts, lights are out. You're a roofer. You climb up on a roof, and you could fall off. And you're trading your life for a job. You a plumber. A plumber. A plumber could choke on their filet mignon. It might be big boat weather out there, and the plumber took his small boat out and falls off and dies. These are all occupational hazards that blue collar guys do. It's kind of normalized in society, but this one bugged me. So we raise a glass of what do we got tonight? Eagle Rare to Jed Walter, Inbred Jed. If you have an opportunity to perhaps go back and watch the videos that he was in, uh, and kind of see what kind of person that he was, maybe throw a couple bucks in the hat for his family, for his wife and 2 daughters. I would be appreciative. I'm sorry to start off an episode that's called Becoming Comfortable with Death off with a real life death, but it was important to me and it far superseded all the other things that I had on the show notes. So I said I would do 8 minutes. I did 12. Thank you very much for listening. May Inbred Jed rest in peace. Thank you for keeping me safe in my yard and teaching me some stuff. Because I'd have been plunge cutting and back cutting and dropping things on my own head. Ashley would be down here having this conversation about me without Inbred Jed. God bless you, buddy. All right. What else do we have? Let's get the show notes up here. Should have had it done. I guess we talk about the other thing. I'm not going to blow any state secrets out of the water as far as actual events that went on yesterday at Brad's house. Firewood at the Furnace held an open house with, I don't know, 32 Easton made splitters and approximately 67 steel 500s. The cacophony, the noise that went on was glorious. Headphones were not a suggestion. You needed them. These boys, myself included, were probably tearing through $1,000 an hour in fuel. Just everything was going. And it was glorious. It was so good. I brought all of my cameras, phones, GoPros. I brought the big camera, the hard camera, the tripods, batteries. I was like, I am going to video this. This is going to be epic. I'm just going to turn the camera on. And from the second that I got there, I didn't video 1 second. I didn't take a selfie. I don't think my phone actually came out of my pocket. 2 reasons. 1, head on a swivel. Let's face it. I don't know these people. You ever been to a public gun range? You ever been to like an indoor public gun range and like you're focused on your task, but 66% of your mind is thinking, what the hell is the guy next to me doing? I'm not saying that there was any dangerous behavior. There absolutely wasn't, but I don't know you, dog. And that's a lot of CCs. So it was mainly focusing on other people. Secondly, the people, the community, the folks that were there were so nice and so wholesome. The last thing that I wanted to do was stick a camera in their face, especially the big camera. It's intrusive with the big lens and there's a microphone. I didn't want to do it. It was genuinely a good time. There was no fakery. There was no, oh, do this over. Oh, here's a camera. Take another shot. Oh, Easton me. It was folks, like we were just talking about with Jed. It was folks who just enjoyed the smell of exhaust, and I don't have a bad thing to say about it. The infrastructure that Brad put down, it seems trivial until you actually get there, but to have the forethought to have porta potties is just, it's right up my alley. That's my kind of thing. have porta potties set up. Tremendous. I think about that all the time. We had a family party here, and I'm like, hey, I got parking covered. I said to Ashley, we're having, I think it was Junie's birthday, and we're having people. I said we should get a porta potty, and she's crazy. And she goes, oh no, you're crazy, you're crazy. And then I showed up, and Brad had a porta potty, two. Tremendous, fantastic. We ended up not needing the porta potty because less people showed up than we thought, but it's quite the opposite at Brad's house. More people showed up than I was expecting, but everyone there was tremendous. And I had again, without divulging state secrets and things that come out, with Brad's and the other creators that are there, I wanted to talk about an interaction that I had in private, but by myself. Again, no cameras around, but it left such a warm feeling on me. It was so emblematic of the day. And I don't know the kid's name. It was a kid. I am good with names. I don't think I caught it. I don't think he said it. But he was there with his grandpa, Big Bear, and then he was there with his little brother, Little Bear, and Bub was there too. And there was a youngster there whose name I either don't remember or it didn't come across. Now, I want you to picture, use the theater of the mind. A man named Big Bear. The person, when I say their name is Big Bear, the person that you're picturing is literally the person that it was. It was a man, I don't know how old he was. He could have been 45 or 65. I have no idea. But the person that you have in your head, that is the person firing off bogues and talked with an accent. And I spoke with him for a few minutes. And I went, I would trust my life to this man. Like if he said I could fix your car, like I would go, here's my car. If he said I would watch your son, I would go, here's my son. Just a tremendous dude. So the point of all this, the youngster whom name I'm going to call him Medium Bear. Let's just call him Medium Bear for the sake of the conversation. I was sitting over next to Mrs. Brad at the fire, which was its own little story. Maybe we'll get to that later. We were over. I was just warming up, and this youngster comes over and says, "Was that one of your 500 eyes?" And I said, "Yeah, it's my. I have one of the 500 eyes." He says, "Was that you running the 500 eyes?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, he's a kid. He goes, "I got an 044, an 066, and an 088." And I said, "Oh, awesome. A man after my own heart. This is a kid. This is awesome." Tried hard not to curse. I said, "That's awesome. Good for you, buddy." He goes, "Do you mind if I try your 500?" And I said, "Where's your grown-up? And let's talk to your grown-up." And I went over, and Medium Bear introduced me to Big Bear. And Big Bear tells me he's got a 44, a 66, and an 88. And I said, "Well, he can handle the 500 then." But at this point, the day had been... The day was almost past, and there wasn't a lot of wood left. So I go over and I grab a little chunk of wood. I said, "Brad won't mind." It was 16, but by the time we got done with it, it was 8 twos. Sorry, Brad. And this kid just tried it out. He was safe. He had the right stance. He had his foot placement. He didn't dig into the dirt, which is better than I was. And then Big Bear says, "You mind if I try it?" I said, "Yeah, I would let you stitch me up. Like, yeah, go ahead. Use the saw. Like, I trust you." And then, we start talking, and it went into chainsaws, sprockets, then it went to chickens, then it went to ducks, and all these things that I liked. And I went, holy shit, I didn't mean to curse. I said, oh, holy cow, this entire group of people is awesome. And Ashley says, "Well, did you have a good time? Why didn't you film?" I said, "Yeah, I had a good time. And why didn't I film?" And it took me a second, and I thought about it, and I said, "Do you know how hard it is to find a new friend in your 40s? I was surrounded by friends. We didn't know each other from a hole in a wall, but we all know what it's like getting chips in our eyes. Or chips in our boots." These were good people. And it's not the first internet gathering that we've ever been to. I was telling Val, Mrs. Brad, my wife and I, Ashley and I met on the internet, but not like we met in a chat room. We met together. So like, it's possible, but there's always an air of weirdness if you get folks together from the internet. You never, takes all kinds to make the world go round. There was none of that. There was none of that at Brad's house. These were just, you hear folks talking about the Firewood community and they're all good people. And holy shit, there was a smattering of it. Holy cow, there was a smattering of it that sample size there, that was 100 really nice people that all got together. And I had a really, really great time. And at the sacrifice of Brad's lawn, I hope he does it again. Or we find somewhere to do it again. I offered again to him. Let's do it. Let's do it. I was thinking about it. The local Charles County Fairgrounds and St. Mary's Fairgrounds at Paul Bunyan, they're not allowed to run the saws. They're not allowed to play with the toys. But when they do the tractor pulls here, this is awesome. When they do the tractor pulls in these counties down here, they have chainsaw carvings and 20,000-pound machines with horsepower. So I'm sure if you throw enough money at them, we could probably have it. I think the distance is a little far. Like, hey, come an hour south of Washington, D.C. People are like, I'm not going to that. I don't know. But cheers to Brad. Cheers to Mrs. Brad. Cheers to Brad's mom. Cheers to Brad's lawn. Next time, empty your work van out. I don't know. But cheers. Thank you. Thank you for having us. It was a great time. Great time had by all. I mean, who leaves all their shit in the box? Empty your truck out. All right. Eagle Rare going down in memory of Jed. So that was 20 minutes. I don't think we're getting to all this. This doesn't leave me. Brad says, glad you had fun. Great to meet you. It was really great to meet you. I'm seriously considering. I think there's like a block for YouTube. Stop touching your face. I think there's a block for YouTube. I gotta get some lifters in my shoes because I think the only way that you can like get over the 2,000 subscriber hump is to be over 6 foot. So I might have to get a couple of them shoes that like Pacino wears, so that Tom Cruise wears. I gotta get some of those just so I can be taller. Me and CeeLo looking to get a little bit taller. Not bad. Good people. So that's my current events wrap up. Let's get into some homesteading stuff. For the folks out there whom have chickens and have eggs, is this the weirdest time ever? Because I think it is. I think this is, as far as homesteading goes, as far as the time that I've invested in homesteading, this is the weirdest time ever. The people that come out of the woodwork now that, I don't know, I should stop quoting a number because I don't know what it is. Ashley will correct me. Whatever eggs cost a dozen. I don't know. I'm not being on my high horse. I don't eat eggs. I don't eat chicken eggs. I can't eat them. So I don't know. It's not on my radar. I don't want to sound like I'm too cool for the room. Like, I don't know what chicken eggs cost. I'm so rich. It's not that at all. It's not something that's on my radar because I don't eat them. But the amount of people whom come out of the woodwork and nonchalantly ask you for $10 worth of an item on the arm is astounding. The other day at work, at my real job, these are not poor people. I know what you make. It's a matter of public record what you make. I had 3 people in the course of about 10 minutes be like, hey, you still got them eggs? Yeah, I do. You think I can get some? No, you can't. Because when I needed you in the springtime and I was dumping them out by the 5-gallon pail full, and the entirety of the internet went against me, so much so that I had to bury claymores, or excuse me, I had to dig punji pits and put claymores out in the yard because I thought the internet was coming to get me. When I was dumping eggs by the 5-gallon full because I had too many, and I asked you to take them, all of a sudden everybody became an egg snob. Don't think I forgot 8 months ago, like duck eggs. Like I was trying to sell them snake eggs. Like duck eggs? I never even heard of such a thing. Fast forward to today. Fast forward to December, January 22, 23. All of a sudden, people are like, oh, I heard you can bake with a duck egg. Like, oh, yeah. I heard duck eggs are pretty good. Yeah, you would have found out 8 months ago. Let me continue on by saying there was good that came about going viral on that egg video because we were able to find someone who to take our eggs. And I'm a man of honor. Okay, I don't know if you know this, but I have a shirt with my own face on it, and I have a cup with my own face on it, okay? I'm a man of honor. And back in August, September, October, when I had a glut of eggs, I gave those eggs to that person. And now that eggs are expensive, I still give them away. I'm not charging people. I wouldn't charge anyone anything. It's my choice to raise birds. It's my choice to live this way. That doesn't sound right, but it is. And I would never charge someone for a food item. So come springtime, when the high-priced, it's winter, my chickens aren't laying mass hysteria wears off, and the chicken egg prices come down, and I'm left with 5 gallons worth of eggs, and I say, hey guys, you want to take some? You better take some from me. You can only get on the getting list if you take it when the getting's bad. You want it when the getting's good, when it's good for you, you got to take it all the time. So the lady around the corner, cheers to her. She takes my eggs. So now she makes out in the meantime. I really feel that the current situation on social media with chickens, with eggs, is a price-induced mass hysteria. Mass hysteria is a real thing. Mass hysteria will make you see outcomes that aren't there, to make you believe things that aren't true. Just because the guy has an Amish hat and an Amish beard doesn't make him Amish. No matter how many times someone repeats the same thing, he's not Amish, and he's also not right. Something happened with Tractor Supply. He's got it out for them. There was little kids and trans story time involved. And that's why I'm going to leave it at that. And I think he's trying to dig his way out of that. Bro, it's the winter time. Let it go. The girls don't lay in the winter. They'll come back come springtime. And if you want your eggs, put a light in your coop. It has nothing to do with Tractor Supply poisoning the food. Can we all just take a breath? Because it just gets louder and louder and louder. And my girls in my yard, and I don't know shit about shit. My girls are starting to lay regularly because the days are getting longer. This is my advice. Just let nature do its thing. I know eggs are expensive in the store now, but the mass hysteria has to stop. People come out of the woodwork, though. That's no lie. People come out of the woodwork. You still got them eggs? Nope. I don't know what you're talking about. My chickens stopped laying. My ducks stopped laying. Have you not seen social media? I don't have anything. The government is spraying our chickens. What else? Oh, yeah. So, transitioning. Let me take a drink. Cheers. Cheers to chickens. Chickens. So on the last episode, I like tying things together. I believe it was the last episode. We talked about how, again, I'm a man of honor, and I wouldn't take any sponsorships. I wouldn't do athletic greens or anything like that. That doesn't make any sense. And I really meant it. And I wish I knew how to use the software. I would pop the email up. I'll figure it out eventually. When I get to be like 30, 40,000 subscribers like Dan over at Back 40 Firewood has, I'll get some cool lights. And I'll figure out how to use my actual software. But at this point, we'll do small improvements. We put the signs up. Okay, we put the signs up. That's what you get this week. But I was contacted by a company that was like, hey, we have some products. We have a line of 20 products that we would like you to feature on your channel. And I think it's every YouTuber's dream. Right before you hit that record button, you're like, this is the one. This is the one. This is worth traipsing through the mud and cutting down the trees and uploading and learning how to edit. This is the video that they're going to reach out and get me. And that was the case. A company had reached out to me and said, we have 20 pieces of gas operated equipment that we would like for you to feature on your channel, and you could do an honest review on it. I said, sweet, send me your link or send me the stuff. And it was a company clearly overseas, Alibaba Express-esque. But who am I? Many hands make light work. If anything, if we learned anything from Brad's house yesterday, that many hands make light work. And while I don't have any hands around here just yet, the kids are too small and Ashley's too much of a queen, I could use some gas-powered hands. But then I realized a vow that I took to myself and to you guys. And I said, sure, I would love, they said, how much would it cost for us to, what do you charge for a video? And I said, you have 20 items, so we're going to do it every 2 weeks so that my viewers are not bombarded with it. And I would like $10,000 a video. And I never heard back from them. You're never going to see something on my channel unless I actually use it. Here, in the dirt, in the mud, you can't buy my affinity. You can't buy my opinion. And I mean it. That being said, if they were like $10,000, sure. Where do we write the check? You guys would have seen a literal river of Chinese-made objects up my driveway if they would have went for it. And they would have been the greatest things ever. Big Bear's Tree Care. If you happen to be the aforementioned tree care, Big Bear, could you fill in a knowledge gap that I have here? There was Big Bear, Little Bear. Who was Medium Bear? I remember Bubba. I remember everyone's name, but I didn't catch the name of the kid who had all the saws. If you can fill me in, I will actually sleep better tonight. So yeah, I'm not taking on any sponsorships anytime soon. And if they throw like, oh, can we put this on here? Monk does not register, so I did not catch his name. So God bless you and God bless Monk. That's an excellent boy. That's an excellent crew. You got a nice group of kin there. I really, really enjoyed meeting you. And if I ever find myself down in where you're from, which I remember, I'll be sure to reach out here and look you up. What a great crew. Great. At Novice Tree Guy is his channel. Shout out. Can I put that on here? Novice Tree Guy is his channel, and thank you. No, thank you, and thank you. I'm glad that you were there. I'm glad that I was able to interact with you guys. His name at Novice Tree Guy is his channel. Monk What a polite young man. What a polite, just a good kid who's got a nice future in front of him. Keep your head on a swivel. Be safe. Don't do. I can't say don't do, but just be cautious. Because the saws are fun, the saws are loud, they're great, but there's an inherent danger to it. That kid looked like he had all the marks to it. He's going to be extremely successful. Just you got to be at work the next day to earn the dollar. So make sure that he hammers home. You hammer home the safety factor to him. But that kid's going places. God bless him. That kid's going places. Anyway, so what are we done with? Chinese products? Yeah, we're not doing them here. We're not doing any free China stuff. If they were like, yo, okay, where do we write the check to? It would look like the Baltimore docks outside my house. They would just be crates of Chinese shit coming rolling through. $10,000. Oh my goodness. Anyway, what else did we do this week? What else happened on the podcast this week? I bought the. Oh, I should have segued better. I'm usually good at segues. I could have segued better. I bought the most expensive eggs I've ever bought before. I think they might be the most expensive eggs that exist outside of Fabergé. I bought 4 or 6. Novice Tree Guy, Bunk, my man. I was just talking about you. I did about 5 minutes talking about you. I'm really glad that you showed up. You got a great future ahead of you. You're a very polite young man, and I'm glad that I got to meet you yesterday. So shout out to you, buddy. I know you're not even close to being able to drink yet, but I'll drink to you. Drink to you and your pop. And Bubba. Fuck Bubba. Shout out. Bub. Shout out to you guys. So I bought some eggs. I bought some Mandarin eggs. Mandarin duck eggs. And I'm hoping that I'm able to I'm hoping that I'm able to we're gonna incubate them down here. I have to build an aviary. So this is gonna be on the Venn diagram, a confluence of tree work and chicken stuff, even though they're ducks. And this is where it's gonna be the tie that binds on my channel, because I have to build them an aviary. And I asked Shibe yesterday. I could do 20 minutes on Shibe. All the things that you think about, you know about Shibe, they're all true. That's a good dude. Shibe is a good dude. It's weird. It's weird talking about Shibe because I've mentioned him in videos. I don't think he's ever mentioned me in a video, but at the same time, we've spoken on live streams. It's kind of weird because it's like talking like via smoke signals. Like with all this 4K and gigabits technology, but we're still talking through smoke signals. Like I'll put something up, I'll wait to hear a response, it comes back down. Okay, fine. But I'm getting off topic here with the eggs, but I met Shibe yesterday. Shibe was like the second person that I met yesterday, and he gave a hug, and he's like, "Hey, John, like, that's a good dude. I would take Shibe to a fire. I would take Shibe to a flood. He just seems like the kind of guy that would know what to do." Shibe is a good dude. It's been said over and over again. But I should take back the fire. Shibe is the kind of guy where if something's on fire, he either caused it or he knows like how to put it out. There's no gray area there. That's just the way that he comes off. Got to hang out. He's a good dude. Very nice. Anyway, I was asking Shibe, I got to figure out how to hollow out some logs. These ducks are very special. Ashley says, these ducks, can we eat them? No, apparently the meat tastes terrible. And she's like, well, they must lay eggs? Nope, they only lay eggs like one time a year. I'm literally spending a small fortune because I want pretty birds. The reason why it's crazy how a crazy person's brain works. Is that I made the video a couple weeks ago about raising chickens, and in that video, I didn't even know what a Mandarin duck was when I made that video. I said, "Oh, no one collects birds around here. Only rich people and bobcats collect birds around here." And then this opportunity came up where it was like, "Hey, you want to buy some really expensive birds?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah, of course, yeah, of course I do. Of course I do. I don't have the infrastructure. I don't have the knowledge. And if I said it once yesterday, once I said it 10 times, I have way more money than brains." I was like, "Yeah, send them eggs my way, big dog. We'll take care of them. We're going to grow some wacky Mandarin ducks." But when you see them, you go, "Oh, that's why he's getting them." So that's going to be the confluence. That's going to be the future of the channel. We have roughly 4 months to build an aviary. So it's going to be tractor work. We're going to do a little Milwaukee action, some DeWalt action, building the aviary. We have to dig it out. We have to bury chicken wire, because I'll be damned if a $600 duck gets eaten by some shitty trash panda. I'm going to be really mad. And then we're going to use the chainsaws and we're going to hollow out some logs, because that's their natural habitat, like up in a tree. But we're going to just put it down on the ground. This is going to be awesome. So like and subscribe if you want to see me waste a bunch of money building a house for a chicken or a duck that may or may not even grow. This is going to be epic. Ashley, if if these ducks don't grow, Ashley's going to make me sleep in the aviary, because it's going to be awesome. Let's face it. It's going to be awesome. And if the ducks don't pop out, and I wasted all this money on the eggs because I'm a 10-cent millionaire wannabe rich person who collects birds, she's going to make me sleep out in the aviary. No two ways about it. Speaking of Ashley, as we get this thing wrapped up, we're at 42 minutes. Speaking of Ashley, on a more serious note, and we never actually talked about being comfortable with death. We might go long. Or I have to change the name of the show. We'll edit all this out. Never mind. Let's get into it. 45 minutes in. Becoming comfortable with death. I put 13 birds into the freezer this week. And it didn't really bother me that much. It didn't really bother me that much. I don't know if it had to do with the Cornish crosses going in 2 weeks prior, just a few weeks prior. And this batch of reds, or Murray's Big Red broilers, whatever they are, clean, fast, swift, out the door, into the freezer, done in a couple hours. I wasn't sure if it was at the frequency at which you're performing the killing action is what made it easier, or the frequency at which things die on a homestead made it easier. And you go, well, how many things die on a homestead? Well, if you're raising birds, ducks or chickens, you can only have so many boys. You can only have so many boys, and the boys have to slip this mortal coil a lot sooner than the girls do. So you find yourself calling a bird here or there. But then you also have predators that come around. We had the great raccoon incidents of May of 2022, where we lost a handful of birds, and then Mother Nature lost a bunch of raccoons. You become comfortable with death. When we first moved into this house, we're sitting on 5 acres here. We come from an apartment. Ashley and I and the kids come from an apartment. And there was a cat that came. This cat, we didn't know there was a cat, but when we first moved in, we first checked the house out, there was like little dead micey things, moles or voles or whatever in the driveway. Okay, we're in the country. And we moved in, everything was cool. We were here about 4 days, and the amount of dead things was kind of increasing. We had this cat, it was awesome. Just showed up one day. He would bring stuff. The cats bring you presents. Outside cats bring you presents. And I was like, I'd never seen a dead thing in my life. I didn't know about dead things. And I should have known that it was some weird pet cemetery-esque guiding light that when you have a bunch of property and you introduced wildlife or livestock, I should say, into it, things just die a lot. And I guess after a while, market 2 years and a couple of months, you kind of get used to it. It didn't bother me this much. And I wanted to talk about it because when I told Ashley, hey, I had to cull a duck, it's hard to not anthropomorphize, whatever the word is, anthropomorphize human behaviors into animals. And he had jumped on the girls and they were bleeding and they were all cut up. And I said, we have too many boys. The boy ducks, they got to go. It's time. And Ashley says, okay. And she says, well, you killed him? I said, well, what did you put it that way for? We were a couple of city kids, like you killed him. I didn't put him up against the wall and pop him one. But at some point, animal husbandry takes over and human feelings stop. And I didn't want to feel like a serial killer. I really didn't. So that's why I come on and speak to a bunch of strangers and let you guys know that on this particular batch, it didn't bother me that much. And I hope that's a sign of like emotional maturity more so than there's really good jokes here that aren't going on this channel. But, you could, depravity. If it was the other channel, I'd have said those jokes. So I don't know. Leave a comment. Tell me, every time I do a chicken culling, I'm inconsolable for 2 days, or I stopped feeling anything in 1999, right after Woodstock, and I go, okay, cool. At least I'm emotionally maturing, but I don't know. And who am I supposed to talk to? You guys. You guys are here. You guys are the ones that I'm talking to. So leave a comment. Let me know. Am I going down the path of a serial killer, or it's completely normal that it's just part of animal husbandry? And I don't know why I waited till the last portion to bring up that topic, the namesake of the episode. What do we got here? We got about 12 minutes left. I don't know if I'm going to do all 12 minutes, but there is a special spot here. Talked about the eggs. Yes, we talked about being comfortable with death. Listen, they're food. They're going in the freezer. I just didn't feel bad about it. Sorry. People coming out of the woodwork. Yes, podcast. Yes, here we go. So, I didn't do a podcast on this channel or the other channel last week. We've been sick. You can kind of hear it. The entire house has had the RSV come through. It's not the COVID. It's just that cough. And it made me think, in the grander scope of things, how important it is running a homestead that you have buy-in from your significant other. Because there was a day and a half, where I was completely knocked out. I wasn't doing the birds. I wasn't doing anything. I couldn't leave the bed. And while she's not the Kenzo queen, Ashley is Philadelphia through and through. And she, goes out and feeds the birds and lets them out and does all the things that I would be doing had I been able-bodied. And I think that's one thing that, if you decide to live the homestead life, do things off the land, you have to have buy-in from your significant other. I break Ashley's chops and I call her the queen and she doesn't get dirty and all that stuff. But at the same time, if she didn't have the emotional buy-in, if she didn't have the tacit approval in the background, I could never do any of this stuff. I could never. Could you imagine if I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna buy a bunch of chickens and ducks, and then a certain percentage of them, they ain't seeing Christmas." If you don't have the buy-in from your significant other, you don't really get to do. You might get to do it for a while, but after a while, they're gonna tell you, like, "All right, that's enough. That's enough of this." It's kind of like the dating phase. Like, yeah, you know, that friend you had, we're not hanging out anymore. That's what would happen, and I'm so appreciative that Ashley, in her hands-off and somewhat hands-on way, is approving of how we do this. And so if this is a homesteading podcast and you're listening to this and perhaps you haven't taken the step to even start looking at property or start looking at property, make sure that you have buy-in from your significant other. Otherwise, it's going to be a hill too far. It's going to be too much, um, because you're not going to be healthy every day. You're not going to be able to do it every day. I get up and leave in the middle of the night to go to work, and Ashley does the birds and stuff 3 out of 5 days a week or 7 days a week. If you don't have the buy-in of your significant other, I'm not saying don't, I'm not saying get a new significant other, but perhaps homesteading isn't for you. I was gonna do probably next podcast. We're gonna go over the Homesteaders of America came out with the statistics, which I absolutely love because they could tell any story that you want of the average homesteader. And I wanted to talk about that, but it's going to be on the next one because we're running out of time here. But on the micro scale, if there's not at least 2 of you, you can't do this. You cannot do this. So make sure, again, if you're new to this or you're thinking about doing it, make sure there's 2 of you because the birds need to get watered. Whatever other animals you have, there's going to be pigs here eventually. They're all going to be needing to take care of. And if you get RSV and you cough so hard that your back goes out that you can't walk and can't talk, you're going to need somebody who has your back. And luckily, in my case, it's Ashley. And I don't have anything left. So if you're drinking together at home, here's to Ashley. Who did we do? Who did we do tonight? We did Jed. I think we did Big Bear. We did Jed, Brad, Big Bear, and here's to Ashley. Here's to Ashley. Shout out. Make sure you have a significant other that wants to play this game too. Otherwise, it'll never work. Shout out to Ashley. All right. So, what's the last thing? I devised a thing to increase viewer engagement. Probably should have done it at the beginning, but here we are at the end. This is a Q&A portion. But this is where I ask a question and then you guys answer it. It's like reverse trivia. I don't know why. I could just Google it, but I don't want to go on some ye olde time message boards. I want to know the straight dope. I want to know the answers that are cultivated from the community themselves. So if you're either listening to this on the Spotify or Apple or whatever, you can email us. If you're listening on YouTube now or later on, leave a comment. But I have questions. I'm not a know-it-all. If you're a know-it-all when you're homesteading, things don't work out well. So I think my first question had to do with chickens, and then the wood folk, just wait, and I'll get to you too. My first question in the Q&A, it's going to be a new segment where I just ask you guys questions. What is the point of raising female meat birds? If they are naturally smaller, why is there even an option to raise a female meat bird? Why wouldn't I raise just male meat birds, get them up to 6 or 7 pounds, put them in a freezer? What is the difference? Now, I heard, and I'm not being animal sexist, but I heard that my concerns over the breasts are assuaged. If you get a female, that a female's chicken breast will get bigger as opposed to the males. I don't know if that's a bit of animal sexism. No idea. So leave a comment, send us an email, let me know what is the point of raising female meat birds. And for the chainsaw folk, the chainsaw wood firewood folks, have a question for you. I have a standing dead oak in the front of the house. My wood yard is full to the brim. It's full to the brim. Is it better to and okay, let me reframe it also. There is no danger to it, the standing dead oak, of hurting any property or anything. It's out. I shouldn't say yard. It's in the property. Is there any point to dropping it, or do I leave it standing? If I leave it standing, will it rot slower than if I drop it on the ground? Oh no, it's standing dead. Get it down on the ground as soon as possible. I don't know what to do with a standing dead oak in the middle of the property. Firewood people, chainsaw people, let me know. That's 57 minutes. That went really quick. I didn't nearly talk about death as much as I wanted to, but I guess that's a good thing. Guys, I love you. Joel says dead trees make great homes for birds and such. I guess that's a consideration as well. Terrific. I hadn't thought of that. Maybe I can put my Mandarin Ducks up in the dead oak. And then the trash pandas will come and eat them. No, we're not going to do that. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Another week in the books, another podcast out there. I really appreciate every single one of you spending some time with me, listening to my ramblings. Donate to Jed's family if you can. I really appreciate it. I would consider it a personal something. I also want to thank Brad at Firewood at the Furnace and all of the Firewood at the Furnace clan for opening their home or side yard, wood yard to us. That was really terrific. Everybody else, it was nice meeting you. I look forward to doing it again. For the folks that weren't able to make it to Brad's but are watching this, I love you and I appreciate you. Thank you very much for watching. Good night.